Every morning you wake up, there's a voice already talking to you. Before the world speaks, before social media speaks, before fear speaks, that voice decides whether you rise or retreat. So the question is simple. What are you telling yourself every day? That truth is heavy, and most people run from it because responsibility removes excuses. The moment you accept responsibility, you lose the ability to blame your parents, your past, your education, your government, or your circumstances. And that scares people. But understand this: responsibility is not punishment. It is power. When you stop pointing fingers, you start shaping direction. The day you realize that your choices matter more than your conditions is the day your life begins to change. You don't get to choose where you start, but you absolutely choose where you finish. Owning your life means acknowledging that every action, every decision, every habit is either building the future you want or reinforcing the life you complain about. Too many people wait for permission to become better. Permission from society, permission from family, permission from fear, but no one is coming to hand you approval. Responsibility means waking up every day knowing that no one owes you success, comfort, or happiness. You earn those things when you accept responsibility. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what am I going to do about it? That shift alone separates leaders from followers, achievers from spectators. The world doesn't reward intentions. It rewards action taken by those willing to carry the weight of their own lives. Responsibility also means accepting that your mindset is your job. No one else is responsible for your attitude, not your coworkers, not your family, not your environment. You choose whether you show up bitter or better. You choose whether you let yesterday control today. When you tell yourself every day that you are responsible, you stop surrendering your power to emotions and circumstances. You stop saying, this made me angry, or they ruined my day, because now you understand that giving someone control over your emotional state is giving away your authority. Responsible people guard their mindset because they know that thoughts become actions and actions become outcomes. Being responsible doesn't mean everything is your fault. It means everything is your opportunity. That distinction is important. Life will be unfair. People will disappoint you. Doors will close without explanation. Responsibility doesn't deny that reality. It rises above it. It says, even if this isn't my fault, it is still my responsibility to respond with strength. That mindset builds resilience. It builds grit. It builds character. When you stop expecting fairness, you start developing endurance. And endurance is what carries you through seasons where motivation disappears and progress feels invisible. Responsibility demands honesty, brutal honesty. It requires you to look at your habits and admit which ones are holding you back. It forces you to stop romanticizing your struggle and start correcting it. Responsible people don't glorify excuses. They eliminate them. They understand that growth begins where denial ends. When you take responsibility, you stop lying to yourself about effort, discipline, and consistency. You recognize that talent without accountability is wasted potential, and potential without action is nothing more than a dream that never left the room. Carrying responsibility means accepting that your future is being shaped daily by what you tolerate. The standards you allow become the standards you live with. If you tolerate laziness, chaos, disrespect, or mediocrity, you are choosing them, whether you admit it or not. Responsible people set boundaries with themselves before they set boundaries with the world. They understand that discipline is self-respect in action. They don't wait for motivation. They move because movement is their duty. They wake up knowing that today matters, that effort compounds, and that every decision is a vote for the kind of life they are building. Motivation is emotional, unpredictable, and temporary. It shows up when the music is loud, when the crowd is cheering, when the dream feels exciting. But discipline shows up in silence. It shows up when no one is watching, when the results are far away, when the work feels repetitive and unrewarding. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It cares about what needs to be done. Every successful person understands this truth early or learns it the hard way. If you wait to feel ready, you will wait forever. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement, and without it, talent goes nowhere. Most people live their lives controlled by feelings. If they feel inspired, they work. If they feel tired, they quit. If they feel discouraged, they stop. Discipline breaks that cycle. Discipline says, I will do what needs to be done regardless of my mood. It trains the mind to lead the body instead of the other way around. When you rely on discipline, excuses lose their power. Bad days don't stop you. Doubt doesn't derail you. You move forward not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. That consistency compounds quietly, and one day people call it luck without seeing the years of disciplined effort behind it. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect. It is the decision to keep promises you make to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable, you strengthen trust in yourself, and that trust becomes confidence. Not loud confidence, not fake confidence, but earned confidence. Discipline builds identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. That internal shift is powerful because once you believe you are disciplined, your behavior follows that belief automatically. True discipline requires sacrifice. You will have to say no to things that feel good now for things that will matter later. You will have to wake up earlier, work longer, and push harder than people around you. Discipline doesn't negotiate with comfort. Comfort wants convenience, shortcuts, and rest before the work is done. Discipline demands structure, routine, and consistency. It asks you to choose long-term growth over short-term pleasure. And while others chase balance without progress, disciplined individuals build progress that eventually creates freedom. Discipline also teaches patience. Results rarely show up on your schedule. You may work for weeks, months, even years without visible payoff. This is where most people quit, not because they lack ability, but because they lack discipline to endure delayed results. Discipline keeps you moving when progress feels invisible. It teaches you to trust the process even when the outcome is uncertain. You learn that mastery is boring before it is impressive, and that greatness is built through repetition, not inspiration. Discipline makes you comfortable with the grind because you understand what the grind produces. Living a disciplined life means designing your environment to support your goals. You stop relying on willpower and start relying on systems. You control your time, your habits, your inputs. You understand that discipline is not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently. When discipline becomes part of who you are, excuses sound weak even to yourself. You stop waiting for motivation to arrive and start moving because movement is your standard. You don't need hype. You don't need permission. You show up, you do the work, and you repeat it day after day because discipline has become non-negotiable. Most people fear failure because they misunderstand it. They see failure as a verdict, a label, a final judgment on their ability. But failure is not a sentence. It's a lesson. It is the cost of growth. Every meaningful pursuit demands payment, and that payment often comes in the form of mistakes, losses, and setbacks. You don't fail because you're incapable. You fail because you're attempting something that requires development. Avoiding failure doesn't protect you. It limits you. The people who succeed are not the ones who fail less. They are the ones who learn faster. Failure exposes gaps in skill, preparation, and mindset. That exposure is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine. When something doesn't work, it's giving you information about timing, execution, effort, or strategy. Failure is data. It's feedback. And feedback, when used correctly, sharpens you. The problem isn't failure, the problem is ego. Ego takes failure personally. Growth takes it seriously. One asks, why me? The other asks, what now? That question changes everything. There is no mastery without repeated failure. Every skill worth having demands struggle before competence. You don't become strong without resistance. You don't become precise without error. Failure is the training ground where discipline, humility, and resilience are built. When you stop fearing failure, you stop playing small. You stop choosing safety over progress. You stop measuring your worth by immediate results. Instead, you begin to see failure as part of the process, not proof that the process is wrong. Failure also tests commitment. It asks a simple but difficult question. How bad do you want this? Anyone can stay committed when things are working. But when effort produces disappointment, when results fall short, when the plan collapses, that's where character is revealed. Many people quit not because they failed, but because failure exposed that their desire was shallow. Those who persist understand that failure is temporary, but quitting is permanent. They adjust, adapt, and continue because the goal matters more than the discomfort of the setback. There is also wisdom that only failure can teach. Success can make you careless. Failure makes you attentive. It forces reflection. It slows you down just enough to reassess your approach. Some lessons cannot be learned through instruction. They must be experienced. Failure strips away illusions and reveals truth. It teaches patience, precision, and perseverance. It humbles you without destroying you if you let it. Those who grow from failure don't become bitter. They become better informed, better prepared, and better equipped for what comes next. When you tell yourself daily that failure is tuition, you stop treating setbacks like personal attacks. You stop hiding from challenges that might expose weakness. You accept that progress is uneven, that growth is messy, and that confidence is built through recovery, not avoidance. You understand that every mistake paid for insight, every loss sharpened awareness, and every disappointment strengthened resolve. Failure no longer signals the end. It signals adjustment, recalibration, and continued movement forward long before success shows up publicly. It is built privately through habits no one applauds. Habits don't announce themselves. They don't demand attention. They work quietly, daily, and relentlessly. Whether you realize it or not, your habits are casting votes for the person you are becoming. One day you will look at your life and call it luck, destiny, or circumstance. But the truth will be simpler than that. What you repeatedly do has been deciding your direction all along. The small things you dismiss as insignificant are often the very things determining your outcomes. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. Habits close that gap. They remove dependence on bursts of effort and replace it with steady progress. You don't need massive action once in a while. You need manageable action consistently. A habit done daily becomes a system, and systems outperform willpower every time. When motivation fades, habits remain. They carry you forward when enthusiasm disappears. This is why successful people don't rely on how they feel. They rely on what they've trained themselves to do automatically. Habits shape identity before they shape results. What you do every day tells you who you are. If you procrastinate daily, you begin to see yourself as someone who delays. If you show up daily, you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. Identity reinforces behavior, and behavior reinforces identity. That loop is powerful. Once a habit becomes part of who you believe you are, breaking it feels unnatural. That's why bad habits are hard to stop and good habits are hard to start. You're not just changing behavior, you're challenging an identity you've been reinforcing for years. Your environment plays a larger role in your habits than your intentions. Willpower is limited, but environment is constant. What you see, hear, and surround yourself with nudges your behavior in predictable ways. If your environment makes bad habits easy and good habits difficult, you will struggle no matter how strong your intentions are. Disciplined individuals design their environment with purpose. They remove friction from positive habits and add friction to negative ones. They understand that self-control is strongest when temptation is weakest. Habits don't just affect productivity. They affect mindset, confidence, and self-trust. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you strengthen your belief in your ability to follow through. Every time you break one, you weaken it. Over time, this compounds into either quiet confidence or silent doubt. People often search for confidence externally, but confidence is built internally through consistency. You don't feel confident because you succeed. You succeed because you've trained yourself to act consistently, even when confidence is low. The danger of habits is not in their intensity, but in their invisibility. Because the effects are delayed, people assume nothing is happening. They eat poorly for years and are shocked by declining health. They avoid learning and are surprised by stagnation. They neglect discipline and wonder why life feels out of control. Habits always deliver results, just not immediately. And when the results finally appear, they feel sudden even though they were years in the making. By the time most people notice, the habits have already done their work, quietly shaping the direction of their lives. Comfort feels safe, familiar, and predictable, which is exactly why it is dangerous. It doesn't challenge you, and it doesn't demand growth. It asks nothing from you except that you stay where you are. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they settle. Comfort convinces you that where you are is good enough, even when deep down you know you're capable of more. It dulls ambition slowly, quietly, until striving feels unnecessary and discomfort feels unreasonable. Growth and comfort cannot coexist for long. One requires effort, uncertainty, and risk. The other requires ease, routine, and avoidance. Every meaningful advancement in life asks you to step into spaces that feel unfamiliar and uncomfortable. The body resists it. The mind questions it. Comfort whispers reasons to stay still, to delay, to choose convenience. But progress demands pressure. It demands you stretch beyond what you've already mastered. Without that stretch, potential remains unused and untapped. Comfort is deceptive because it doesn't feel like failure. It feels like stability. You can be comfortable and still appear successful. You can be comfortable and still be praised. But comfort has a ceiling, and once you reach it, everything stops growing. The danger isn't in resting. It's in staying. Rest is recovery. Comfort is residence. When comfort becomes a lifestyle, it slowly erodes hunger, discipline, and resilience. You stop pushing limits and start protecting them. Greatness requires you to voluntarily choose discomfort before life forces it on you. Training, when it's hard, prepares you for moments when it's unavoidable. Those who seek comfort avoid pressure until pressure finds them unprepared. Discomfort builds capacity. It strengthens your ability to endure stress, adapt to change, and perform under uncertainty. When you consistently choose the harder path, you build a tolerance for challenge that makes obstacles feel manageable instead of overwhelming. Comfort also narrows perspective. When you avoid discomfort, you avoid new experiences, ideas, and growth opportunities. You stay surrounded by what you already know, which limits how far you can think. Discomfort introduces new perspectives and exposes you to different standards. It humbles you and expands you at the same time. You begin to realize how much more there is to learn, to do, and to become. That awareness fuels improvement. Choosing discomfort is an act of discipline, not recklessness. It means doing the hard things on purpose, having difficult conversations, practicing when it's frustrating, learning when it's challenging, and continuing when quitting would be easier. Comfort offers immediate relief but long-term regret. Discomfort offers temporary pain but long-term growth. The choice repeats itself daily, often in small moments that seem insignificant. Over time, those choices shape resilience, capability, and strength far beyond what comfort could ever produce. Doubt is not a sign that you are weak. It is a sign that you are stepping into unfamiliar territory. Doubt appears whenever growth is near because growth challenges certainty. The mistake most people make is treating doubt as a command instead of a signal. They hear uncertainty and stop moving. But doubt doesn't mean you can't. It means you haven't done it yet. Faith is the decision to move forward without complete confidence, trusting that clarity comes through action, not hesitation. Self-belief is not arrogance. It is commitment. It is the refusal to abandon yourself when things become difficult. When you believe in yourself, you are not claiming perfection. You are claiming persistence. You are saying that even if you struggle, even if you fall short, you will continue. Doubt asks, what if you fail? Faith responds, what if I learn? That internal dialogue shapes behavior. The voice you listen to most becomes the direction you move in. Doubt grows loud in isolation. When progress is slow and feedback is scarce, the mind fills the silence with questions. Am I good enough? Am I capable? Do I belong here? Faith doesn't eliminate those questions. It overrides them. It chooses action despite uncertainty. People with strong self-belief do not wait to feel confident. They build confidence by showing up repeatedly. Each step taken in doubt strengthens faith. Each action proves to the mind that forward movement is possible even without reassurance. Faith in yourself requires you to separate your worth from outcomes. If your belief depends on constant success, it will collapse at the first setback. True self-belief is steady through both wins and losses. It understands that performance fluctuates, but identity remains. You are not your last mistake. You are not your worst moment. When you internalize that truth, doubt loses its ability to define you. It becomes noise rather than narrative. Belief must be reinforced daily. The world is not designed to constantly affirm you. Rejection, comparison, and criticism are inevitable. Without internal belief, external pressure becomes crushing. Faith acts as an anchor. It keeps you grounded when opinions shift and expectations rise. It allows you to evaluate feedback without absorbing negativity. You listen, you adjust, but you don't collapse. That stability comes from trusting yourself even when results lag behind effort. Choosing faith over doubt is a discipline. It is a daily decision to speak to yourself with strength instead of sabotage. It is refusing to rehearse failure in your mind before it happens. Faith does not guarantee success, but it guarantees forward motion. When belief becomes louder than doubt, hesitation fades, effort increases, and resilience deepens. You move with purpose even when certainty is absent, guided by the conviction that you are capable of becoming more than you are today. So every day, before the world gets a chance to define you, you define yourself. You take responsibility even when it's heavy. You choose discipline. Even when motivation is gone, you treat failure as education, not humiliation. You build habits quietly, knowing they are shaping your future. You reject comfort, understanding it costs too much, and you let faith in yourself speak louder than doubt. Because the life you want is not waiting on luck, permission, or perfect timing. It is waiting on your decisions, repeated daily, made consistently, backed by action.